och i hela världen. Han är en av världens största nätverkare. Han har över 1 miljon distributörer i sitt nätverk. Och jag är så glad att vi har honom på linjen idag. So, Mr. Dan Catto, are you there?
Helen, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you. And first of all, I would like to thank you, Dan, for taking the time and of your busy schedule and be here with us and educate us and give us some nuggets of, goodies. So I'm really, really excited to listen to you, and I'm so happy that you took your time.
Oh, Helen,
so I would like to start with saying thank you.
Well, I really do appreciate that. There was a little bit of a hiccup with the audio. I just want to make sure my audio is good, from my side and reaching you guys. I've had a very busy morning here. We've got a 6-hour time change, so my voice is starting to go on me, but I just want to make sure that I'm coming through clear.
Loud and clear. I can hear you, and I guess everyone on the line can hear you really good.
Fantastic, fantastic. And Helen, first of all, are we doing a translation today, or am I just going?
You just go ahead. There will be a translation, but it's going to be. You don't have to bother about that. So it's you can just talk.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, first of all, for all of you that are on the line, most of you I've got to meet personally and get to know personally in Sweden and abroad, i.e. in Spain, where a lot of us just were. So Helen, you and I now go back a number of years, and your inner circle and your team and your leadership, we now go back a number of years. So first of all, before I share just over the next few minutes, hopefully just one maybe little thing that can help your business to take your business to the next level. This is an honor for me to be with you guys. Number one, for you guys are business partners, there's no question, but most of all, you're friends, your family. And the real key to our success long term is long-term relationships. And at the very core, very core, if you look at our industry giants that have been out there even longer than us, and we as a company have now been 18 to 19, going on 19 years, when Joe and I helped start this company, launch this company as the first distributors in the field. There's relationships we've had even longer than the 19 years. Joe and I, for one, Garth, Thomas, and it goes back. There's many, and for all of us that have just in the last few years got to know each other, I just adore and love Helen as she does with her team and her leadership that's on this call. And I'm going to be mentioning some of your names throughout this call, but like anything that's going to be long-term, if you want to have a long-term relationship in terms of your marriage, your business, your relationships with your friends, all of that stuff, that road to success, as I've always said, is always under construction. So relationships as well are, sometimes not every day is going to be a great day. Not every day is going to be a bad day. But it's always something that, you continue to work at. So Helen, I applaud you for everything that you've done, not just for Sweden, not just for Scandinavia, and not just for Europe, because you and your team and your leadership that's on this call is one of the strongest intact reorder business organizations that we have in all of NHT, in now just about nearly 60 countries. And I know those markets and I know those people. So I applaud you, Helen, first of all. And number two, your incredible team. And we had a lot of fun in Spain just a few weeks ago. So it's great to reach out to all of you again. So Helen and I were, discussing, this was about 5-6 weeks ago. We were talking about me getting on with you guys and maybe sharing some insight with you. And what we decided on was really two things that we want to discuss with you, kind of what to do and what not to do. So what to do and what not to do. And before I get to that, because there's going to be kind of two things, what you want to really do and what you really don't want to do. But I'm going to back up 31 years ago when I got started off in the industry. And oh, by the way, just to back up, I never saw that blooper reel before, Helen. Was that the first time that blooper reel of the doctors, the dancing doctors?
Oh yeah, this was the first. Yeah, it was the first time shown at all. It was, premiere.
Fantastic. Well, it was well launched and well received here in Canada. That was fabulous. I want to share with you guys, there's only one blooper reel that you'll like more than that, and that is the Joe and Dan blooper reel that will soon be released. So you'll definitely enjoy that. And that kind of sort of takes us to, what our business is about. When so many of us, so much of us, like I did, and I'm going to back up 31 years ago when I got started off in the business, because it leads into what I want to share with you, what you want to focus on, and definitely what you want to stay away from. 31 years ago, as a lot of you know my story, and for some of you that may have not heard my story, when I got started in this industry in 1988, that was when I got involved in the industry. Garcia and I launched this company in 2001, and 2 billion later, 50 countries plus later, all of these products and success stories, from the products to the opportunity to the business later, we never take it for granted, and we never forget where we came from. And I certainly don't, from 31 years ago, because I was living with my parents at that time, with mom and dad, on government assistance. And I had just lost everything through a corporate takeover here in America. My business that I had had for about 2 years had gone under. I lost my business. I went into massive debt, and I went back into the security of the corporate world. And that's when I was introduced to this industry for the very, very first time. And like all of us, you can relate to this. Remember the first time you saw this industry, and you never want to forget that when you introduce the opportunity to brand new people, how confusing it can be and how different it can be, and how they go through the preconceived misconceptions that, and the misunderstandings that we've all had. So when we got started, when I got started 31 years ago, I was desperate. I was really desperate to get out of where I was. But when I saw, and this was important because you have that coming up, with this tour that's coming up, to take advantage of the big event so it can help crystallize the bigger picture for a lot of your guests, your prospects, customers, potential customers, which doesn't take much until, because they just got to try the product. For the most part, they're going to be getting incredible results in the products, but certainly the opportunity. It helps crystallize the bigger picture of what we are. It helps to answer so many of those questions. So 31 years ago, I was desperate to find something. I was desperate to get out of where I was. I was thirsting. I was hungry. I was starving. So my timing was great. And they've said that, the teacher arrives when the student is ready. I was desperately, desperately ready, but I didn't know for what. But I just knew how to get out of where I was and had to get somewhere. And I had to believe in something. So when I was introduced again to the industry, like all of us, and this leads into what I'm going to share with you in the back end of what I'm going to share with you today, because when Helen and I were talking about who was going to be on the call, and she mentioned it was her distributors, her team, her organization, and her leaders and her top leadership. This is my favorite call. You are my favorite people to talk to, because I have been right where you are. Every single one of you, wherever you are right now in the NHT business, if you're just getting started and you've got 2 distributors on your team, I've been there. If you're a rising star, I've been there. If you're rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, whatever rank you're at, I've been there. I feel everything you've gone through. I've gone through everything you've gone through, and I've gone through everything you're going to go through. So I feel all of that. It's an incredible journey. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Oh God, it's worth it. So when I reflect 31 years ago with mom and dad living on government assistance and earning, just a few $100s a week from the government and just trying to survive, I was desperate for something. And that's when my teacher arrived. So he shared with me just a few simple things. And I want to share this with you for sure. Going forward, wherever you are in this business. Well, before I get to that, because this part I'm going to just share with you is critical. The three things that he said for me to be successful. A lot of you have heard me say this before. I say it today when I bring on a brand new distributor. And I focus on bringing in personally one distributor per month. I may be talking to dozens more, 20, 30 people. I may sign up 3 or 4 people in a month, but I'm looking at that one platinum a month or that one serious person per month that will maybe be that one person a year that will be that leader, that will be that Helen, that could be that Kaya, that could be that Cindy, that could be that Soul, that could be that Karina. I'm looking for that Bay. I'm looking for that one person that could light this up. One a year, one big one horse per year. But my mentor told me 31 years ago is that the very first thing that you're looking for is someone that is hungry, that has that burning desire. The second thing is that they're prepared to go to work, that they're prepared to pay a price, part-time or full-time. Even if they're working full-time on their job, they can work part-time on their dream. They can work part-time on their fortune, work part-time on their future for their family. So is that desire, the work ethic. And also number 3, critically, I had to buy into this, and that was the teachability, to be a student and to be coachable. And that person that I found 31 years ago was living exactly the kind of life that I wanted to live. And it wasn't so much the amount, it wasn't so much, the income and the money and all of that. It was the way he lived. And the stress that I was going through at that time and the way I was living and had been living, I wanted to buy into that and I wanted to live like that. So I became a student. I was prepared to go to work and I was very, very hungry for this opportunity. Now that was 31 years ago, and I asked him in approaching this business, and this part is key to the last part I'm going to share with you in what you need to focus on no matter where you are in your business, in your organization. I said, Jeff, this was my guy. How do you approach this business? He said, number 1, simplicity. Keep this simple. I'm going to share this with you. This is the part that I was going to share with you just a few minutes ago, and I backed up about the 3 characteristics of a successful leader, distributor in our business. But the biggest thing, one of the 2 biggest things that can stall your business is to complicate your business, and the last one is the management mode. And that's what I'm going to share with you in the very last part of our call here today. But let's go back to this. What he said to focus on: simplicity, the basics, the fundamentals of the business. He says, don't complicate it. Keep it as simple as you possibly can. Write this down. Focus on the money-making activities. Focus on production mode. Be in that production state. If you want to get to the next level, if you want to get to the next rank, if you want to get your people to the next rank, you got to focus on the money-making activities. You need to stay in the production mode, the growth mode. And I'm going to get to that part in just a few minutes, which again is what I wanted to share with you, what to focus on and what not to focus on. But here's the last thing he said: simplicity, basics, and number 3 is duplication. And one of the great attractions that we have to our business, and for so many of you, you've had your own business. So many of you have worked for somebody. Most of us at one time in our lives we've worked for someone. Just about everyone has, but not everyone has owned their own business. And for all of you entrepreneurs that are out there, you know what it's like, even over time, in owning a business. It seems to own you. And that is the great, great appeal about our industry, which is our industry 101. When you have a great system, a great model with great products, with great repeat reorder business. And to that point, gang, this year, Sweden leading Europe, one of the top countries and markets, because of you, Helen, and what you've taught and your incredible support group, this year, your reorder business on that preferred customer program that you have, your reorder business was stronger than all of the new business that we had last year. So what that's saying is that before your team was getting out of bed, you were doing more business than you did last year before you got out of bed, because of the greatness of these products and the results that you're getting on these products and the model and the system we have in place. That is just 1 year. What happens after 2 years? Sticking to that model, an inch by inch, a brick by brick, disciplines, repeated over time, what happens? Success. That inch, centimeters, meters, repeated over time. Here in Canada, we're still using inches and feet and yards, but you know what I'm talking about. And the message is those little things that you're doing that sometimes may seem it's insignificant are incredibly significant, repeated over time. So when I look at what you've done, Cindy, Bay, the story that you have is absolutely incredible. These are the stories that you want to get out to the masses. And someone asked me years ago, Dan, what is, and I remember the first time hearing it, and I've repeated it since then, what is the secret to our business? The secret is, don't keep it a secret. Share the opportunity, share the business. And that is what's universal about what we have here. You know, they say that music is universal. I guess on the outset of our call here today, listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival, I remember listening to that song, as I could be dating myself here, but some of you remember that song over 50 years ago. You heard that in Sweden, you heard that in Scandinavia, but we heard that here in Canada, in the United States, and around the world. That's something that's universal. And what's universal about us is that everyone loves our products. What else is universal about us is everyone wants a better way of life. So when you look at what you need to focus on, and Helen and I were talking about this because I had learned this from my mentor. When I met him, I was 31. He was only 25. And after he had had success beyond you can't even imagine. And from a compliance standpoint, I'm not throwing out numbers here because I want to be very respectful from a compliance standpoint, from income testimonials and product results. But you guys all know, we just have to just look at your cycle and look at your rank, and you know what someone's earning. And you just talk to somebody privately, and talk to B if you want to know what the products are doing, and just, you know, same thing with Cindy, et cetera, et cetera. But when you take a look at the results of what we've had in terms of the business and in terms of the products, and what we need to focus on, it's these two things. Number one, in terms of what you need to focus on, is the production state, the production mode. If you want to get to the next rank, if you want to get from wherever you are to the next stage in your business, the greatest thing that you can do is not push, but lead. You show your group where you want them to be. You share the most products. You do the most product presentations. You introduce the product to the most amount of people. You do the most amount of meetings. You show the opportunity the most. And that comes down to the production mode. The production mode and the production state are two money-making activities, what I talked about from the very beginning. Those two money-making activities are sharing the product and sharing the opportunity. Basically, any other activity will not pay you immediately. Any other activity will not pay you immediately. The only other activity that I promote is promoting the next event, which you have coming up with Dr. Ben. You want to fill the class, fill the room, fill that event. But that is the production state. That is the production mode. If you look at your planner for the next 30 days and take a look at where, part-time or full-time, how is your day planner filling up in terms of the times that you're going to share the product, the times that you're going to share the opportunity? How many one-on-ones are you going to do? How many two-on-ones you're going to do? How many three-on-ones? Not your group, you. Not your team, you. Ask this question to yourself. If your entire organization did in the last 48 hours what I did in the last 48 hours, would have I made any money? Would have I had growth in my business? Would my team have grown? Would have I had grown? Would the organization have grown? Would you follow you? Ask yourself that question. Would you follow you in developing and building that organization? The greatest way for you to get to the next rank, to get to the next level, is by focusing on the money-making activities, because it's all about production and growth. And that is sharing the product, sharing the opportunity, and the delayed is the promotion of the next event. And that is the delayed productivity that you would get, excuse me, because you're going to have people coming to that event, obviously, and you guys know this, in terms of the customers, potential customers looking to know more about the product. They'll get that from Dr. Ben, but also seeing an opportunity because the product will certainly validate, the business and the opportunity. So gang, your zone, your state wants to be that, again, wanting to go to the next level. There's nothing that will drive your business more than you doing out and showing your group, you as the number one prospector, you as the number one share of the product, and sharing the most opportunities, sharing the product the most amount of people. Led from the front, not from the back. Now, let's go to the next one. And that is the single biggest thing that will kill your business and hurt your business. And that's the exact opposite of what I just shared with you. That's when the people, and I take a look at, organizations or leaders that have come to me and they've asked me about, with the last 6 months, my group hasn't grown, this hasn't grown. And then I ask them, how many people have you talked to about the business? How many people have you sponsored into the business? How many products have you shared? How many product opportunities product presentations? How many home presentations? How many one-on-ones and two-on-ones have you done? Not so much the group, but what you've done. And 99% of the time, because it does happen, maybe 95% of the time, it's because of the lack of production from the front, the lack of that productive activity from the front. And that's basically yourself. But I'm talking right now to one of the greatest, fastest growing, most solid organizations in Europe, in North America, around the world, and that's you guys. So for you to continue to grow, keep doing those things that got you there in the first place. And that's one of the biggest things that have hurt leadership, that have hurt an organization, is they go into what they call management mode. And I think a lot of you have heard that before. And that management mode is one of the single biggest killers, the management state, where they start managing their group and spending all of the time in their organization, which can feel good. Sometimes it can't, because a lot of times you're spending time with people that are complaining all the time, where your zone should be on the new business, the new customers, and certainly the positive people that are filling the room or promoting the next event or looking at doing the next home presentation or boardroom presentation, or you following up on a three-way call or a conference call where they're putting you in front of their new people, because that's all about growth and moving forward. So in just wrapping up here, gang, to keep this as simple as you can, regardless of the size of your organization, and Joe and I have recognized this from around the world, is that we have focused on certainly the most positive leaders that we have that are growing, but are doing the things that they need to do to grow. And that is those production activities, sharing the product, sharing the opportunity, promoting the next event. But remember again, the things that will stifle your business, slow your business down the most, and that is the management mode, where you start managing the group, managing the team. Most people know what to do. They're just not prepared to do what they know. And you're just a shimmering example of what to do. Just about all of you. You really, really, really are incredible. So I want to thank you and applaud you guys, all of you, Sweden, Scandinavia, and whoever, Helen, that you've got that's tied in this call from your other markets, because I know it's not just Scandinavia where your business is and Sweden, but into so many other countries and markets now that you're starting to spread around the world. I applaud you, Helen, for your great, great leadership. And I really do applaud your great, great circle of leaders that you have. And I know most of you are on the call, from Kaya to Cindy to Bay to Sol to Karina to so many more of you. I adore yous, I love yous, and I can't wait to go back and see yous. You've got a great, great event that's coming up. Fill it up, and let's all of us get to the next rank. So Helen, thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Dan. It was incredible. This is so good information that you're sharing. Thank you. And I was thinking that I should open up for a couple of questions if we can just keep you here for another 5-10 minutes. Are you up for that?
Sure, absolutely.
Oh, great. So as I'm going to start asking a couple of questions, and then hopefully someone else would like to ask some questions. And I'm just going to say that in Swedish, so hang on. Så vad jag menar nu är att om det är någon som har några frågor som ni gärna vill ställa, passa på och gör det nu, och det gör ni i där som det står, för ta den som det står questions, så skriver ni era eventuella frågor där. So as you know, our event is coming up this Saturday, and I know there are a lot of people that has been working really hard to get the guests there, get their organization there, and so on. So how would you, what would you say, what would be the best way to work with that and not just bring them there and do the work before the event, but actually the after work?
Right, and it's a great, great question, Helen, and whoever asked it, and if they didn't, wherever it's coming from, it's one of the most important aspects of our business. It was shared with me, and I recognize that over time is if, and I'll say this part, and then I'll back up on what to do, etc. But this statement, remember this. And I have learned this from all of the great, great leadership within our industry, outside of our company, long before I got involved in NHT, is that if you are not that skilled at, the one-on-one presentations, or you're not that skilled as a speaker at the front of the room, maybe you're not even a great recruiter, you just can't seem to retail a product, which is very difficult, because all you have to do is get people to try it. And I'll share a little bit more of that with you. If you have an issue, just talk to anybody who's got an issue in retailing the product. Just talk to any of your leadership. You've got one of the strongest repeat reorder product organizations, Helen, in the world. And all of you know who I'm talking about with Cindy, with Bay, so many of you. We've got some of the greatest stories around the world right here on this call. But this is something that I did learn. And it's not just so much about, from a product standpoint, we've got Dr. Ben that's coming, but from a business standpoint as well, is that if you lack in those skills, and there's not a lot of skills that you have to be great at in this business, because you got to focus on the simplicity, share the product, share the business. But if you can do this one skill, may take you a little bit longer to climb in the ranks and get to the top of the organization and have the long-term success that you're looking for in the business, but you will get there, because it's a tremendously important skill, and that's the ability to promote. The ability to promote, and that's to promote the next incentive. Now, I saw the incentive you were sharing at the front of this call, some of the product incentives that we've got with STEM Renew. I mean, it was all in Swedish, but I could see it. You had the same thing with our Ariel. There was a product promotion that I believe runs to the end of November. I hope I'm not talking out of turn on this one, but I saw those incentives. So the ability to promote, incentives, promotions, and especially the event. If you can develop just that one skill, because the product and the model, the opportunity, and the event basically will take care of itself for the most part. There's obviously some skill to some degree and things that you need to do after the event in terms of the follow-up. And Helen, that was very, very important. And it's always the 48 hours after the event, which I'm going to talk about here. So the building up to that event, it's massive. You want to get to as many people from a text to an email, utilizing social media. Because I tell you that some of the things that have not changed in our world today is massively getting the message out. What has massively changed here is technology. So, when you look at, old school, new school, offline, online, that stuff is, it's a little bit different. Online and offline, yeah, it's definitely different because I come from the old school, but I'm learned and understood the new school. They both work. They both work. And in the new age of social media, we can massively get out to them and get to way more numbers than some of the old schoolers that are on. If Kai is on today, I'm sure he is. Him and I are one of the senior guys that have, as a matter of fact, I think we were born the same year. And, we've reflected on this industry. And when we got started, Helen, you and I, you're a lot younger than I am, Helen, but you and I just remembering how we started in this industry. And, cell phones hadn't been introduced. I remember the first cell phone that came out. It was the size of a rubber boot with a cord on it. You had to stick into your thing in your car and it would last for 5 minutes. And how much of that has changed. So, social media, which is all part of, online, all part of the new school. Get the message out. They've got to get there. Take a look at some of the things that we have that are going on there that you leverage from. Now, something that I've heard over the years is that some people have complained is that they've got a lack of resources. There's no lack of resources here. If someone doesn't make it, it's lack of resourcefulness. Leveraging from your resources, recognizing the great resources that you have around you. So let's take a look at the resources that we have. Helen, do we have, were we talking, I don't know. And I've done this before. I don't know what you're doing there with as far as getting people to the event, but Garcia and I have done this before where we said, look, you come to this event, you can be a part of a free facelift. So, they can be part of a free facelift. You can give them a sample on that. The female version of Viagra, excuse me, just using layman's terms, we've got a product where you can have a free sample just by coming to this event. Using the different resources. We've got one of the top young doctors around the world that head up just about all of our products that are going to be, he's going to be here live, literally overnight, that you can go face to face, belly to belly with on products that have got Nobel Prize winning research behind it. It would be brain damage to not want to be there, to not want to just take this in, not just for you, but for your family's future, your children's future, your grandparents from a health standpoint. So it's leveraging from the resources that you have. It's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. I found why people have, stalled or not being able to take their business to the next level. So yes, everything that you can, from a text, phone calls, email blasts, one-on-one, face-to-face, promoting this event, and then getting the people there, and then the follow-up. The 48 hours after your event that you're going to have this weekend are critical. Let me share a statistic with you, which is not a lot different than a statistic that we have in our industry. In the car industry, and I recognize this because, and I got that stat from my uncle who owned one of the largest car dealerships in North America. He did, Ford dealership in Canada. He said that 88% of the people that buy a car that walk into his dealership, which he just sold a year ago, 88% of the people that purchased a car purchased it within 48 hours of walking into the dealership. Cold. They walked into the door. Over 80% of them that are buying buy within 48 hours. The other less than 20% are buying, days or weeks down the road. So what the clue is, if it hasn't jumped out yet, is that first 24 and 48 hours of you following up with them, answering their questions, getting maybe your upline or your team or your support, or if there's anything more on the product, Cindy's there, Bay's there, Helen's there, all there. The resources that you have around you are there to answer their questions. They're interested in the business. You answer those questions in the business. But the key is following up with them Sunday, Monday. If you start waiting until next week or say, look, call me and tell me what you think about it, it's the wrong approach. And you want to strike while the iron is hot. We're an emotionally driven industry and environment. Take advantage and leverage from those emotions when they're most excited. It's a little bit like the honeymoon. When they're most excited, you want to take advantage of it. So the pre-event, the building up of the event, being at that event and being excited at that event, that's another thing, gang. You want to be at that event early, as many people as you can there possible. At the event, you want to make sure that your prospect or potential customers, you introduce them to Dr. Ben, introduce them, get them to introduce them to Cindy, to Bay, to hear the other great product stories and testimonials that are going on. So during the course of the event, and while they're at the event, that's leveraging from the event, leveraging from the great resources and the stories. Introduce your guests and your prospects to the most successful people in that room. That is making and taking advantage of the event. Milk it, leverage from it, work it. And then after that, it's the next 48 hours, and that's the follow-up. So there's the pre, there's the event, and then there's the follow-up. This is no accident. This is all happening by design, but it's simple in design, and it's simple in focus. Stay with that simplicity. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you. Really, really good. Thanks. I'm getting so many questions, and I guess we're not going to be able to answer them all tonight. I have them on my here and on text and WhatsApp and all over. So people are really, really keen to listen to you, and they just love it. So one other question I got is, should you go, and if you're a new person and you decide to start, you don't know that much about MLM, should you start with a small package or should you start with a platinum, and why would you do that?
That's another great question. And it goes back to what I learned 31 years ago, what I learned when I got started, when Joey and I launched this company. It's the same thing here today. You begin with the end in mind. When you sit down with that prospect and that person that's getting involved in the business, you need to find out what their needs are, not your needs, their needs. You focus on their wants, their goals, their desires. If this person is really coming into the business and they're really just looking at it to be a product consumer and maybe an oh, by the way, they're not really that serious about the business. They're really excited about the product and they understand that, but the business maybe is not so much for them from that standpoint. But yeah, maybe going along here, I could share it with other people. You'd focus on, one of those smaller packs. And, I've got to be respectful here, Helen, because not all plans have changed around the world. But you're obviously Ruby and Emerald there now. I don't want to say obvious, but you're Ruby and Emerald there now, correct?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Some of our markets are
from Europe, Dano.
Yeah. Thank you. The market I love the most. But they're changing right now. They just went through a complete change down in South America, literally in the last days. We're talking days. Mm-hmm. So I just got to be respectful that you don't have any bronze or silver there. But you're with the ruby and the emerald. But if a person is at all looking at building a business, they need to be looking certainly at a gold or a platinum package. And it falls in line with their commitment, what they want, where they want to be. You want to find out what their goals are, but you'd be doing yourself a disservice, them a disservice, to not share with them the advantages, the huge, massive advantages. And from a compliance standpoint, we got to be respectful. From a compliance standpoint, with the people getting started with too much product, but they're protected because we have the 100% money back guarantee. So a lot different than a franchise or a club, Class A franchise, A1 franchise that you have around the world, or someone starting their own business. Typically, you don't get your money back, and usually it's cost you 60, 80, or 100,000 to start a business. A gold or a platinum package, €1,000, 1,500, maybe 2,000 euro relative, excuse me, to the currency exchange here. But you go back to their goals. Pardon me. Like I said, you're my fourth webinar today so far, gang, and it's now 3 o'clock today. So, and I got a few more to go. So I'm gonna have to take some products to loosen up my throat. But just on that, Helen, because it is so important, is the gold and the platinum package, particularly the platinum package. You need to share with them the benefits. Why? One of it is the supreme bonus, and why they can qualify for. Ask them, would you like to one day, have an education program for your kids? Would you like to have, a luxury car or a car that, of your dreams, et cetera, et cetera? Would you like to have some of these, from a compliance standpoint, we've got to be sensitive to dream vacations. Compliance now here in North America, we've got to be sensitive to that. But you guys all know, we look at how many of us just came back from Spain. Next year, we're going to, the new group is Monaco. We've been to Dubai. We've been to all of these exotic locations around the world. Do they want to have that? They want that financial independence and that financial freedom long term. So you want to weigh out those, find out from them. And it doesn't take too long, but you want to fit into their goals and their needs and their wants and their desires. Find out what they're prepared to do in terms of hours per week, hours per day, if it's going to be part-time, and then relative to that game plan, that should fit in nicely with that gold or that platinum package. And if you've got any type of incentive or promotion, they want to certainly capitalize on that. But the benefits of the platinum package, I mean, they're, as for all of you, that as distributors and leaders, they're incredible, and we're protected. The distributor is protected through the money back guarantee. So they're supported through that, but it has to fit their goals, their wants, and their desires, and they're going to be good with it. And then you certainly want to run with it, but make sure that they're in a position and they know what they're coming into. But again, it's not like a franchise or getting started off in a business that's going to run them 100,000. We're talking about a couple of $1,000s or a couple of €1,000 with products that they can consume and products that they can sell and retail, and also share with people that are be coming into the business. Because it is difficult if you're going to be doing any type of a trade show, a home presentation, if you're going to speak with anyone, and you guys know this, you talk to them about the product and now they want it, you've got a much better chance of selling it if you can give it to them immediately versus having to order it. It takes time, and et cetera, which still works. But working from a full cart versus an empty cart or an empty shelf is much more beneficial and advantageous to their business, short term and long term. So great question. But as you know, the huge, massive advantages and benefits that you have at the platinum position. But you got to sit down with that brand new person, and it's got to fill their needs, not your needs. Where they want to go is the most important thing.
Wow, that's a really good answer. Thank you, Dan. I know you have so much more things to do today, and still. So I think what we're going to do is end it for tonight, but we would love to have you back another time, and I will keep all these questions, and maybe you can answer them the next time. Would that be okay with you?
For you and your team, anytime, anything, always 100%. Love you, and I love your team. Love your organization.
I love you too, and I'm sure my team love you as well. So thank you for taking your time, and I just loved it, and you're such an inspiration, and we will see each other soon, and until then, have a great time, and from the bottom of my heart and all of my team, thank you. You're
I appreciate that, Helen. Thank you. Have a great event. And thanks again, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. See you all real soon. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okej, allihopa, då tackar vi för ikväll. Det här var det sista. Jag ska lova att jag ska göra allt för att få tillbaka honom igen. För man kan inte få nog av honom. Han har så mycket vishet att berätta och saker som vi kan lära oss alla ifrån. Så jag hoppas nu att vi ger sista järnet nu till att promota eventet. De sista få platserna som är kvar, att vi får ut dem också. Och så syns vi allihopa på lördag och har ett kalas-event. Tack för ikväll. Hej då!